And now, the LSU Football Fix with Preston Guy, presented by TigerBait, starts now.
And welcome in to your LSU Football Fix. I'm Preston Guy, staff writer at TigerBait.com. Tonight's show is presented to you by Celebrity Theaters each and every Monday night at 8 p.m. We've also got publisher at Sports Illustrated's LSU Country. That is Zack Nagy joining us. Oops, man, I pressed the wrong button. Zack, what's going on, man?
Not too much. We're trying to obviously bounce back off a sluggish win over LA Tech, but it's Florida week, man. We got a lot to talk about. Brian Kelly obviously took the podium today. Billy Napier did the exact same thing over in Gainesville. So gearing up for a big week. It's about to be fun, man. About to be a fun week.
No doubt. Anytime you're playing Florida, that's always a fun week. It is, of course, a heated rivalry. It's one where LSU is looking to get revenge for a sloppy 9-point loss in which LSU actually dominated the football game in every statistic except for the scoreboard. It was just a bizarre box score to report on after that game. So LSU will, of course, be looking to avenge that, where I think LSU left that game feeling they were the better team. Tonight, we're going to be doing an offensive film breakdown. I have tallied up every play that went less than 3 yards against LA Tech. And I have a breakdown of what went wrong and who made the errors. So we'll talk about that. I think there's probably some not so surprising results, but maybe a little bit surprising in there. We'll also talk briefly about Brian Kelly's presser tonight, or to this afternoon, I should say. LSU remains at number 3, does not drop. They lost one number 1 vote from Baton Rouge's own Koki Riley. Actually bumped LSU down to number 2. I don't think I would have blamed anybody for hating on LSU, but the consensus is nationally struggle wins with good teams happen. And frankly, there was a lot of struggling going around the country yesterday. So good for LSU remaining as the number 3 team in the country. We've got Braylon Moore and Trey'Dez Green injuries to discuss. And of course, we'll talk about Billy Napier continuing to call plays for the Florida Gators. And boy, how hot is that seat? Let's get to a couple comments here. Of course, we've got the traditional Fire 3449 with his just automatic hit the like button, guys. Big Stat Kelly, regular watcher of the show. Hit like, beat Mike. Of course, we got to try to beat Mike. We have not beaten him yet this year, but we'll try. We'll try our best. Let's see here. Smoke flying into the show with all the internet cooking with Chef Guy has been doing tonight. Want to know? I don't know that I've been cooking, but as I did my film study, and by the way, this made the film study take 3 hours, guys. I was just, anytime I was like, I saw something that I found particularly insightful or revealing or frustrating, I made sure to hit record and post a clip of it. So if y'all want to see the actual clips from tonight, just go to my Twitter at pguy77. Y'all see that there on my name there at the bottom, and you'll go find all of the clips for free that I was able to, or at least all the interesting one. I didn't want to post every single one, but eventually, I had to do something about it. But before we go too far down the line, I'm going to tell y'all about my friends at Genesis of Lafayette, guys. Of course, they are Lafayette's highest quality Genesis dealer. They're on Lafayette. They're on, I'm trying to find the road here, man. I lost 6600 Johnston Street. So sorry about that. I lost my place on the read. Let's go through their commercial and I'll be right back.
Drive in style and luxury with a new Genesis from Genesis of Lafayette. Buy a 2023 Genesis G70 3.3T Sport Prestige Executive Demo and pay only $39,870. Buy a new 2025 GB70 and take $2,000 off the MSRP with value owner, competitive owner incentive, plus finance for 2.99% APR for 60 months or 3.99% APR for 72 months. Don't forget to start your shopping online by visiting genesisoflafayette.com.
And guys, they've got a huge inventory of new and used and certified pre-owned Genesis vehicles for a truly first-class automotive experience, guys. Go check them out. They're going to take real good care of you, real good service. They're here to exceed your expectations. Genesis of Lafayette. Shop online at genesisoflafayette.com. All righty. Let's see if we got any more intriguing comments before we go down. Let's see here. Koki has some questionable rankings. I will say this. Koki does deviate from the norm a lot more than most of the writers. Typically, if you look at, they have like a ranking they put out of how far people deviate from the norm on their AP ballot. And Koki's he's not afraid to go march to the beat of his own drum when it comes to his AP rankings.
He was getting
let's see here,
man. He was getting some pretty crazy replies on his Twitter, man.
Preston, I watched your post-game show and wanted to push back on your criticism of Mettenberger. He actually had more yards per attempt than Nussmeier had. Now, I hear you. I think Nussmeier was better last year. He had less good receivers than Mettenberger had. Also, Mettenberger missed on a lot more throws. If you look at a lot of these passes, a lot of them were very acrobatic grabs out there. Again, they're both good quarterbacks. This year will be the tiebreaker. How about that, Brad TV? Stamps with 2 dropped interceptions. He doesn't look the same. Yeah, that's the thing about a dropped interception. Kudos for being there and not allowing the play, but if you can just come down with that grab, make the interception, you stop the drive dead in their tracks. I'll also say Javian Toviano was out there on that touchdown. That was one thing that I caught during my film study. I was just glazing through the defense because that's kind of just a big, giant check mark. Good job defense against LA Tech. But, man, Toviano gets in for one play and just absolutely blows his coverage and gives up a touchdown. That was frustrating to see some of these guys who have been in the program for quite a few years not have that bounce back that you would look for. Oh man, Edub. I think that's Edub the 4th. This offensive line is just not a physical bunch, and I think it starts with the position coach. Yeah, no, they got their face ran through a lot in my film study. Very frustrating film study to watch because
that video of DJ Chester, my goodness.
Ooh, yeah. And
I understand. And going back to the Stamps thing too, just from a confidence perspective, Stamps obviously is losing confidence just because he's not really in the rotation. You've got 4 guys that are ahead of him right now for the most part. And then you can say the same thing about a guy like DJ Chester, who's not in the starting rotation.
Yeah.
A lack of confidence. And obviously you go get your face ran through right when you get on the field when Braylon Moore goes out. So there's a couple of guys on the 2 deep that aren't necessarily getting enough reps, I guess you would say, and we're starting to see a little bit why.
Yeah, it is very upsetting to say the least. Let's run down what I saw in film today. Okay, now the first category is going to be the types of errors, and then I'm going to get into who committed them. Okay, the first thing is inaccurate passes. How many inaccurate passes do you think I charted from Nussmeier in this game?
So he went 26 for 41. So I guess probably at least 8 to 10 is my guess.
No, I'm not going to give him that because there's throwaways in there, and then there's actually drops. There's actually 4 drops in this game. So and I can chart you for an inaccurate throw and a drop. But in terms of just missing the receiver, including, my God, probably the worst pass Nussmeier's thrown in his career, that first interception where Barry and Brown is just wide open. He had 5 inaccurate throws tonight, which is actually a lot considering I'm being generous with what I call an inaccurate throw. This has to be like guys open and you're just sailing it. I'm not counting things like guys tied up and, defender made the play. The one ticky-tack thing I called inaccurate was there was a play to Tradez Green in the end zone. He threw it up when clearly he was open if you just throw it under and just let him, work his way into the end zone. But it was a high coverage over the top. It was a high zone. They were clearly trying to stop the jump ball. The defender was in perfect position to make a play on the ball, and Nussmeier still throws it up instead of. So you could argue that's a misread or decision. Ultimately, he threw it to the right guy. I just don't like the way he chose to throw it. And it wasn't like he didn't throw it. He didn't put the ball where he wanted to, like Barry and Brown. It was, and by the way, he missed Barry and Brown 3 times like that. That was highly upsetting. But additionally, he just needed to hit him underneath. He chose to go over top. Anyways, so 4 drops, 5 inaccurate throws. Let's see here. 6 misreads. for Garrett Nussmeier, where he misread the defense. There was an open receiver over there, and he didn't hit him up. So, and then, of course, he held on to the ball too long twice. So, in all, that was 13 bad plays from Nussmeier against LA Tech. And for the Heisman Vegas favorite to go out there and make that many negative plays against a group of 6 school, that's not ideal. For a guy with 6,000 yards passing on his career, a fifth-year senior, coach's son, there's a lot of these mistakes you just shouldn't still be making. So a lot of head scratchers there. Very frustrating. Bad screen blocks where we're talking about linemen going downfield and just missing somebody. Paul Mabinga absolutely whiffed on the backer on a mid-screen, just didn't touch a soul. He saw Josh Thompson chipping on the backer and said, all right, he's got him. I'm moving up to the safety. And it was just a foolish play. It was a very foolish play on Paul Mabinga, who I don't know if there's any offensive lineman who had a great night. So there was one screen block whiff. Block assignment mix-ups that happened twice where guys just couldn't figure out who their guy to block was, and they're blocking air. Very frustrating. DJ Chester on a twist stunt, blocking air, let a guy run right by him to his left. They have to do a better job identifying on an outside blitz, a blitz from the slot. I believe it was a safety stepping up and kind of like almost like how LSU plays Harold Perkins. They had a safety play in that position. They had a blitz on the slot receiver. Weston Davis, the defensive end. We're talking about a true hand-in-the-dirt defensive end in a 3-3-5 stack. He crashes inside. And that causes him to block nobody. When you're playing right tackle, you have to have your head on a swivel. There's going to be outside pressure. They're not going to send the outside defensive end to the B gap, A gap, whatever it may be, without getting some exterior pressure, because if you don't do that, your quarterback can just run up field for a free touchdown every play. No, it doesn't matter how immobile your quarterback is. If it's a free touchdown, it's a free touchdown. But they sent a corner blitz, a slot blitz. It was not a cornerback. It was on the slot receiver, right? And Weston Davis isn't looking. There's no call. When I was in high school, we said that was a water call. I don't know what that is for LSU system, but Weston Davis sits there and he runs right on Weston Davis's right shoulder. And just comes straight for Nussmeier. So, the assignment stuff is all frustrating. But what might be more frustrating than that is missed or bad run blocks. These are plays where either you missed your assignment or you blocked the guy and you just got your face ran through. Any guess?
Mm-mm.
No guess. All right. It's a big number. It is 16 times LSU either missed a run block or they just didn't get a push and got pushed through. And honestly, it's way more of the latter than you should be comfortable with as a program like LSU. You should not have guys at LA Tech, and I don't want to insult LA Tech because they're a phenomenal G6 program, but we're talking about a program of guys who almost all of them would be at LSU if they were good enough to get the offer from LSU, right? That's just the fact with these situations. Phenomenal program. I love LA Tech, but we have to be dealing with reality when talking about this. I would say at least 2 of these, though, missed run block assignments. These came from the receivers. Nick Anderson had a couple plays where he's just kind of running around, not blocking anybody because he's backside. Well, the guy he was supposed to block ended up making the play. Not great night for receivers run blocking. Although I'll say this. Did you see Aaron Anderson on that Harlem Berry run, the crazy Harlem Berry run?
It's the hustle, man. I mean, that's what you got to love to see. I just love Aaron Anderson as a player, man.
Well, he actually had what was essentially like a bubble screen type route where he's faking to catch it behind the line of screen and he's looking upfield. As soon as Harlem Berry cuts, Aaron Anderson is busting his tail downfield, man. That is championship football. That plays on my Twitter, by the way. It's the last play clip I tweeted. That's championship football when your receivers are downfield making the block. So in terms of being a crisp, clean, polished player, Aaron Anderson is your crisp, clean, most polished receiver right now. I don't know that in the discipline category it's particularly close based on what I'm watching, although Berrien Brown is your most talented receiver. And Zach, I said that on the postgame show. Is that off basis? Do you concur with me that Berrien Brown flashes the most talent of the receivers?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even close. This is a guy who's a pure speedster. And I think his numbers don't even necessarily dictate how good of a player he is when he was back at Kentucky. This is a guy who didn't necessarily have the quarterback play that he has right now when it comes to Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, you have a quarterback who can truly unlock what Berrien Brown can do. He's a vertical threat, but you give the ball to him in space, and he can just turn it up as well, too. So this is a guy in his LSU kind of Death Valley debut who totaled 150-plus all-purpose yards, almost 100 total yards kind of as a receiver. So it was nice, man. This is a player who obviously everybody's high on, including myself, and I think by the time it's all said and done, he can be your true wide receiver one.
Pass blocking was not awful for LSU on the night, although there was a little bit more of it than I would have liked to have seen. Okay. There was a twist stunt they ran, 4-man rush, beat 5 blockers. You never want to see that. That's just complete. And DJ Chester was dead guilty on that. Pass blocking, they screwed up 3 times. Although the pass pro, for the most part, they gave Nussmeier a clean pocket. The lack of downfield passing, but a lot of it was also against 3-man rushes. They dropped 8 a lot. And by the way, they were also playing absurdly chippy with their wide receivers. I mean, they got a lot of PI calls and a lot of missed PI calls. So LA Tech clearly had to hack a Shaq strategy is what I like to call it. Play them tight. Give us the flag. That's okay. We'll drop 8 and we'll play physical ball. And it worked. Scheme. I know a lot of people are complaining about Joe Sloan and his scheme. I'm going to tell you the scheme, they schemed open players a lot. Those 3 plays with Berrien Brown not catching the ball from Nussmeier, you know what 3 plays I'm talking about, right? The one drop, the one crossing, and the one interception.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, and there were a bunch that were a little shaky.
He dropped one, although Nussmeier was high and up on him. It was 2 things can be true at once. You can have a bad throw and it should have been caught, right? One was such a bad throw, Berrien Brown couldn't get his hands on it, and the other one was so bad. It was so egregiously underthrown, it was actually intercepted. If Berrien Brown gets those 3 grabs, we're talking about a massive night for him. But that was good scheme. There was 2 plays I looked at where I'm like, you know what? That was, you were just set up not to succeed based on scheme. And I'm not going to sit here and say I would have preferred this kind of play call in this situation or that. I'm only talking about plays where, based on what the defense called and what your OC called, you were set up to fail. Example, late in the game, you're 3rd and 15, okay? It is on the 20-yard line. Ramos will hit a 37-yard field goal. They called a route tree where there was a receiver downfield at least. Now, pardon me, I don't have the all 22. I didn't see all the receiving route trees. I saw 3 curl routes, okay? That means at a minimum 3 out of 5 of your routes were not past the first down line. Why are you calling 8-yard curls on 3rd and 15 late in the football game and 3rd and 15? Do you think
that
Ramos
took that abysmal sack?
Yes, that's the one. Yes.
My thing is like we can sit back and kind of nitpick that play call all we want, but man, taking that sack, that was the worst play of the night, in my opinion. I mean, to sit back and take that was abysmal is the best way to put it. That was ridiculous as a quarterback.
Remember, though, what I'm telling you on this, you can have multiple categories of wrongness on each one. So that for sure is Nussmeier holding on too long to the ball. Absolutely. That's a bonehead play by Nussmeier. I really don't know what he was doing there, not throwing that ball away. But anyways, but what is also true is having 3 receivers on an 8-yard curl on 3rd and 15 when you're right at the goal. Do you think Ramos needed the extra 6 or 7 yards to kick it in from 30? You think Ramos isn't good from 37? I just don't know what you were thinking. Maybe you just didn't want to turn the ball over and really needed that field goal. If that's the case, call a draw. But that play call, I felt like was just LSU was set to fail, whether they succeed or not. And of course, the last category is held on to the ball too long, 2 reps. So of those, do you have any big takeaways from those counts? Does anything catch you off guard, I should say?
Man, for me, just the play from Aaron, where Aaron Anderson kind of quote unquote dropped the ball, the one where I think it really clearly was going to Trey Green. That to me, just a bonehead play. But nonetheless, man, there are a ton of shaky plays throughout that game, all in all.
Let's see here. We'll get to a few comments before I get to who the guilty parties were. Get to a few of your comments. We've got Bryce Coon, the Coon in the comments. Let's see here. Big question here. First time caller, multi-time asker for the question. Hypothetical question. You said that. Okay. Ron Higgins and Scooter get in a cage fight. Who wins? Are you going to actually give an answer on this one?
I'm not answering that.
Are you too politically correct? Dude, first off, you don't want to be in a cage fight with any of those old guys. Scooter Hobbs or Ron Higgins. They're using teeth. They're doing what they got to do to come out alive. Give me Ron Higgins. All right, let's see here. Have you ever seen the inside of a Turkish prison? No. Let's see. Follow up. If you can put if player I could lay out if I put on the pads 0 out of 85. Let's see here. Running into a massive humidity at the end of the game was beyond dumb. You know what? Count the money. I think what's dumber is you've got 1st and goal from the 3-yard line, and you cannot convert just by running the ball, being the bigger man against a group of 6 school. That's what I think is dumber. So, yeah, of course I don't like the play call, but, you know, you got to be able to out physical teams at a certain point. And I actually have some serious questions as to whether or not LSU can. By the way, the guilty party on, I think 2 out of 3 of those runs they called there, I just called it team because it's just a wall of humanity and you can't get a bigger push than they can. So that is where it was problematic. Let's see here. Nuss deep ball is bad. We blamed not having a deep threat last year with the receivers when they were. I've been telling y'all that Nussmeier had some problems on his deep ball. I mean, that's nothing new, right, Zach?
I mean, look, there's been problems here and there with that deep ball every now and then, but like what he's saying, for the most part, we talked all year long last year about the lack of vertical threats. Chris Hilton was out for the most part, so you were kind of dinking and dumping it down with all these other guys, but now you got vertical threats. For me, I'm not going to kind of put one bad throw away. For me, it was one bad throw and putting that in the rearview mirror. But other than that, I still think this is a guy who can air it out when he wants to. It's just going to take some time to continue developing rapport with these guys. That interception is an outlier to me. I think it's just going to take some time to get into a groove.
Look, man, I think he's missed on a lot of deep balls in the last 2 years and open receivers too. I think that the vertical threat was an issue, but there was times where they were open and he missed them. That being said, he hit a few too. I just wish it was more consistent from Nussmeier. Why are we not going more vertical? I hear the speed of this receiver room. Here, great question, Tari. And I'm going to tell you what my film study revealed to me was they tried. But there was a lot of cover 4, a lot of 8-man coverages, and Nussmeier is glued downfield trying to find these guys. In fact, he's so glued, he's not taking the checkdowns. Okay. In fact, of the 6 misreads that I said he had, I think all 6 were plays where he had his eyes glued downfield trying to find that deep threat, and it just wasn't happening. Okay. So I think they really, really tried. It's just, the scheme did not allow for it. And I think that if you take those 6 checkdowns, and by the way, I'm not talking about like checkdowns like, oh, you're running back on a swing route. No, I'm talking about like Aaron Anderson, 25 yards downfield, instead of throwing a prayer to Chris Hilton in the back of the end zone, just hoping he can moss that guy while you're throwing on the run. He launched about a 45-yard bomb to Hilton, and it wasn't a horrible throw, but it's just a tough throw and catch to make. When you had 2 open receivers, you had Bauer Sharp open for about 10 and Aaron Anderson way more open on a dig about 25 yards downfield. Both would give you first downs, and you're taking the YOLO throw. So again, I think they tried, they just couldn't. I don't think it was there tonight. Let's see here. Does Kelly have the play sheet this Saturday? There's no evidence
Answered
that's
that
going to
before,
happen.
just about how he always has the go-ahead to change up a play call if need be.
But he's asking if he's going to call plays. I'm certain
I don't
that's what
think
he's
he's
asking.
call the plays.
No, I don't think so.
Sloan's designation.
I also don't think the play calling is the issue. That's a lot of what I pointed out in my film study. Again, when you've got Barry and Brown wide open 3 times, you schemed him open for big games. We're talking about games of 20 plus yards. That's not the scheme. When Nussmeier is taking a sack and not taking the open receiver 6 times, that's not the scheme. Look, when your running game, when your offensive line is missing blocks and getting beat, what was that? 16 times? That's not the play calling. That's your Jimmys and Joes. And it could be the position coaching. I'm not saying it's not coaching. I'm just saying it's not the play calling is what I'm going for here. Let's see here. American Patriot asked what might be a valid question. I don't know. Is he injured? He didn't look like an elite quarterback this weekend. He had 5 inaccurate throws. I don't know anything about if he is injured. I do know he had that knee injury that might be bothering him a little bit, but I mean, that doesn't explain 6 misreads. That doesn't explain holding onto the ball too long twice. That doesn't explain all the other stuff that's going on. I think just Nussmeier had what possibly could be the most errors he's had one night. Now he's had more nuclear meltdowns before, like on the road at A&M. But this
I'll never forget that game.
Yeah, it was just an anomaly. But I would argue, just guessing, my guess would be he had less quantity of negative plays against Texas A&M. He just had the nuclear melt. He just had catastrophic plays. Let's see here. Let's see here. All right, look. Let's go into who made the mistakes tonight. The guilty parties. And of course, I don't have it exactly broken down. I have an idea of how many of each category they missed on. But anyways, Nussmeier had 13 bad plays. Paul Mabinga with 3. Tyree Adams with 4. Xavion Thomas with a missed block. DJ Chester 5 bad plays that caused the play to mess up. Josh Thompson with 1. I think he was your best lineman tonight. He did have 1 hiccup though, and I don't think it was that bad. Nick Anderson missed on 3 run blocks. 3 run blocks Nick Anderson missed on. Cohen and Coles had 1 mistake, 1 bad play where he missed the blocker. Let's see here. Aaron Anderson had 1 missed run block. Let's see here. No, I'm sorry. I said it was his drop. Aaron Anderson had a drop. He had 2 hands on the ball in the end zone. It was a high throw. Remember, 2 things can be true at once, but he had a drop. Weston Davis, 3 missed blocks. Caden Durham missed on a pass block, and that was ugly. It was right up the middle, just whiffed on his linebacker that was blitzing. He had to pick up. Team offensive line, poor run blocking, didn't get a push as a whole. It's kind of one of those things where you've got a great wall going, but your wall's getting pushed back. 5 times that happened, and that might be the most concerning category. Let's see here. Kyle Parker, he had a drop in the end zone. Although that would have been a tough catch, but you're an SEC receiver, make that catch in the end zone. And I believe he had a missed, was it? Oh, run block. Yeah, Kyle Parker. They kept on using Kyle Parker as, what's it called?
You should play the clips too so that everybody can see the clips as well.
Well, I don't want to get the YouTube violations. That's why I don't do film reviews here, because our videos get flagged for copyright. So that's why. So if you want to see the video, just go on my Twitter, guys. It's out there. Twitter's much more open about it. Kyle Parker, they had him on counter trays, like where he's coming in motion and he's kicking out the end. Okay. And he didn't do good on that. Barry and Brown with a missed block as well. So that's the tally. I'm curious on y'all's thoughts on the tally, if anything caught you off guard categorically or which players were guilty, but that is where we stand with that. Let's get to our first ad break. We're going to transition into, BK's presser. We're going to talk about it. It wasn't super heavy, but I'm going to let Zack kind of go through his thoughts on that. I'll give some commentary. We'll talk a little bit more about the injuries, Napier's, and then we'll get Comments, and more comments. Let's go. But first off, I got to thank our title sponsor who makes what we do each and every year possible. That is, of course, guys, Celebrity Theaters, guys. Celebrity Theaters is Louisiana's only locally owned and operated theater. So because of that, there's just a few things that you're going to be guaranteed every time, like a clean facility, better pricing, superior customer service, state-of-the-art technology. And, of course, the Baton Rouge location has the largest arcade in town with over 50 games. They have locations in Baton Rouge and Ruston, and keep an eye out. They might come up with a new location soon enough. Guys, they've got their weekly specials going on. They've got Monday Senior Savings Day. They've got Bargain Tuesday on Tuesdays. They've got College Night on Wednesdays and Thursdays going on there. Of course, guys, they host private events. They've got auditoriums 8 to 10 based on which location you're going to, whether you're hosting a birthday party, private movie screening, corporate meeting, arcade party, whatever you've got, guys, they're here to take care of your needs. You can go to celebritytheaters.com/events or shoot them an email at events@celebritytheaters.com. All right. Guys, I got to tell you all about our friends at Alumni Hall. I just talked with them today. And they have branded Bill hats, LSU hats coming in. So really good stuff there. A lot of people ask about the branded Bill, the ones with the little leather patch on it. They're getting those in today. They also have the Bayou Bandit shirts that the team is wearing, the defense is wearing on the field before the game. They got those in. And remember, promo code TigerBait gets you 10% off on those. So make sure to use that promo code to let them know their sponsorship dollars are going to work and save money as well. They're your ultimate shopping destination for LSU fans for all your licensed gear and apparel. They've got the Nike, Champion, Johnny O, On Reserve, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, hats, Yetis. Guys, they've got it all. It's incredible. And by the way, gear coming in daily. So come in and check it out. If you didn't like what you saw last week, hey, a week from now, it might be completely different, guys. So make sure to go check them out. They also have the new Nike Pegasus shoes in there. Go visit alumnihall.com. Make sure to use the promo code TigerBait to save 10%. Let's see here. And of course, guys, if you're looking for a great place to go before the game, pop over to Struby's downtown. It's not hard to get to LSU from there, guys. One of the things we try to do with all our partners is partner with locally owned businesses we know and trust to give a great experience. And guys, Struby's prides itself on providing a 5-star dining experience for a reasonable price. Struby's is locally owned with ownership in the building every day, taking a level of pride in its food and service you don't just see from any corporate establishment. Struby's features a menu of specialty meats, including USDA prime Black Angus steaks, 100% certified Wagyu New York strip. And for those looking for something outside of red meat, they offer items such as the dry aged pork chop, black truffle lobster pasta, redfish, and plenty more. Book your reservation online tonight at strubys.com. Make sure to let them know TigerBait sent you in. Whew. All right. Let's see if we have any comments here worth slapping up there. With Chester taking first-team reps this week, it should help. Well, I expect he will be starting against Florida. Braylon Moore has a high ankle sprain. I can tell you I played with a high ankle sprain in high school. That first week is brutal. And where you're probably maybe I'll say this. On the 7th day after my ankle sprain, I was good to go, but it hurt, and I would have been about 80%. He probably can play. Will he be full? I don't know. But, Zach, what's your thoughts on that? You think a week of first-team reps, is that going to work miracles with him?
Yeah, I mean, Chester had a whole year of first-team reps.
Yeah.
And still wasn't necessarily living up to that LSU standard that Brian Kelly likes to talk about so much. So I think it's still going to be a struggle no matter what, especially going up against an SEC defensive line. But nonetheless, absolutely, getting some more reps under your belt and being more prepared will definitely put you in a better position. I'm with you, Preston. I don't think Braylon Moore is going to see too many reps this weekend, if any. I think it would be fantastic to get him out there on the field, but you also don't want to risk the next couple of weeks after that. I know it's Southeastern, then Ole Miss, et cetera, but you want to make sure that you don't throw Braylon Moore back in there too early coming off of an ankle injury because those linger, as we know. So for the most part, I think DJ Chester is a great player at times, but not sure how it would go this weekend against an SEC opponent.
Brian Burgess says he thought it wasn't a high ankle sprain. Did I get that wrong, Zach? Have I missed
Brian
something?
Kelly talked a little bit about today when they underwent testing and whatnot, how they weren't quite sure if it was a high ankle sprain. I'm not sure if that was coach speak, but nonetheless, he'll be on the injury report this week, and we'll see what happens from there. He said that he could progress and see if they could upgrade him to probable moving forward towards game day. But leading into that injury report on Wednesday for the SEC availability report, he'll be on there as questionable.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, speaking of Brian Kelly's presser, Zach was on spot taking notes. Zach, what was your takeaway from BK's presser today?
Yeah, I mean, I had 3 of them. And obviously the first one is, of course, the injury report that he provided. Braylon Moore and Trades Green being questionable. I wouldn't expect to see Trades Green this week or next week. I think he's going to ultimately come back in week 5 at Ole Miss. You just want to make sure that he's up to kind of that LSU standard getting back. This is a player that you don't want to risk another re-injury. It's an MCL sprain, so those can kind of linger a little bit as well. It's better than an ACL sprain, obviously, but
no doubt.
Nonetheless, I'm not a doctor, so that's not my forte. But the major takeaways there from Brian Kelly's press conference was, number 1, addressing that injury report, and it's positive news on Braylon Moore and, of course, Trades Green. So that's number 1. Number 2 is Harlem Berry. I loved what he said about Harlem Berry today and talking about
the
how
conversation. Is that the part?
Yeah, it's one where they had to have a conversation about it, nonetheless, after making those kind of big-time plays. I know it was one that was there, but during your film study, I saw that you posted on Twitter that there was one where he was open on the flat, where he ultimately could have turned it up and maybe gotten in the end zone for his first touchdown as a Tiger. So for me, just there being kind of a conversation about Harlem Berry and getting your 5-star true freshman on the field, to me, that's extremely important. And it was nice to see those bright spots there. And lastly, for me, I was talking about how this week is going to be kind of focusing on red zone conversion rate. We saw this team kind of lack creativity in the red zone, specifically inside the 5, where we saw them just run it up the gut back-to-back plays. To me, that's just inefficient football when you have somebody like a Trades Green or a Nick Anderson, a 6'4" receiver. So just going into this week and focusing on red zone consistency, and of course that conversion rate is key. So those are the 3 major takeaways. I wouldn't say today was a nothing burger per se, but it was a lot of coach speak. But I did love how he opened the press conference talking about how much he needs the students to come and show out. It's Death Valley, and obviously he was talking about the resume that they have. It's just about kind of getting out there and making it hell for that Florida Gators team. So not a nothing burger press conference, but definitely a couple of takeaways.
Yeah, no doubt there. Boy, I think you have to get Harlem Berry 5 touches. And you mentioned that play in the flats where Nussmeier did not take him. He had 8 yards of cushion. Nussmeier looked to the end zone and threw it to Kyle Parker, who did drop the ball. And it's a ball you expect an SEC wide receiver to make. However, it was a tough grab, and Harlem Berry would have been there.
That's a tough play to make. I know.
First and 10, by the way. First and 10. Yeah, to catch the ball, yes, tough play. But you should make it. But also, if you've got an easy play to make, why go for the tough play to make? You get what I'm saying? On first and 10. I get it if it's 3rd and 15 and you're just like, well, if we're short of the sticks, we got to kick a field goal anyways. I get that. But that wasn't that.
I completely hear where you're coming from during your film study where you're talking about, I know a lot of people want to talk about Joe Sloan. Like, that makes complete sense. I get it. As they should at times, not all the time. But when you go back and you rewatch the game and you kind of check out kind of the small details and the fine print, you can see where there's some plays where the players themselves made some mental errors. And that one right there was one of them where you were specifically talking about Harlem Berry being open on the flat. So for me, look, I think it was important just to kind of get out there and talk about Harlem Berry because this is a player who I think is going to make some big-time plays for LSU. I truthfully think that in that class, he is probably my favorite player. I know everybody's going to talk about DJ Pickett as they should because he's a superstar. But I really love what Harlem Berry can provide this team moving forward offensively.
I think 5 touches is what he's calls for. Now, eventually I'd like to get more. So is Florida then Southeastern next week? Do I have that right? I'm not looking. Okay, so I would say after that Southeastern game, let's start opening it up to Harlem Berry because he is showing you something special right now. That run he made, I had a screen grab I posted of just how many people were around him, and he somehow finagled his way out of it. If you put him in some space, he's going to do something special. But you do have to get him in space, which right now is a challenge for any running back.
So how do you divvy up the running back room? Like if you're Frank Wilson and Joe Sloan and Brian Kelly, because Caden Durham's your RB1, your true lead back, of course. but Caleb Jackson isn't giving you too much to work with. Juwan Johnson's being used as kind of this gadget guy in the backfield, kind of catching some balls in open space, getting it out of the backfield a little bit. We're seeing Xavier Thomas get some balls too from a rushing yards perspective too. So how would you divvy that up to get Harlem Berry more balls?
Well, I would, if this is Preston Guy you're asking, you asked it if you're Joe Sloan, Brian Kelly, and Frank Wilson.
No,
Preston,
I'm asking you.
Preston Guy will answer. I can't answer on behalf of them, but I would go RB1 Caden Durham, and then your spell back is very easily Harlem Berry. And all those carries going to Caleb Jackson right now. I'm sorry, Caleb Jackson, you haven't shown me enough. By the way, I didn't fault the running backs on any plays because on almost every running play, there really wasn't a lane. There was one play I almost faulted Caleb Jackson because he had a really slow, choppy get to the line. But I also think he might have been just waiting for something to open up. Whereas if he had hit it full speed, he would have at least fell forward for 2 yards, whereas there was just kind of nothing there. So anyways, Caleb Jackson is the one where I'm like, man, brother, I'm sorry, you just ain't ready yet. I would probably take away a little bit of the Juwan Johnson touches, although there weren't a ton of them against LA Tech. I still like the way they're incorporating Xavier Thomas. I really do. I would try to find Harlem Berry more in the passing game because that's a really good way to get him open in some space. And frankly, I think you need to get Nussmeier doing more checkdowns. I know they're trying to push the ball downfield. It wasn't there, and he's staring guys down. He needs to move off. It's okay to take your first read downfield, but check down. Or maybe check down, check back up. You get what I'm saying? Don't just miss an open receiver because you're locked in downfield. So I think that would help get the ball to Harlem Berry as well. So I would do that. And I'm talking 5+ touches. I'm not talking give him 40 times, give him the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think he's too talented to just not use at all and not give experience. Let's tackle a few questions here. I guess we got a lot of time to tackle questions through the end of the show. Let's see here. I'm going to go up here. Go Tiger says, we will see a whole new team this weekend. Here's the evidence to back that claim. I don't think the offensive line showed me anything where they can just take it more seriously and play better. I do think Nussmeier showed me a bit of that. If Nussmeier were to take more checkdowns and take his reads a little more seriously, I think that could have been better. Now, I guess there's also a hope that LA Tech's defensive line is just that elite. They did shut out Southeastern, so I don't think they're a bad, I don't think they're per se a really bad defense for a G6 school. We're talking about a program that just they're not playing the same game LSU is in terms of recruiting and coaching budget and all that.
I think you're going to see a different team, a different offense specifically. I think defensively, you got what you want.
Yeah.
It's master
half of the equation's doing fantastic.
Yeah, like you gotta give Blake Baker and company their flowers because it's been fantastic what we've seen defensively. But offensively, you obviously want to see a ton of different rotations here and there for the most part. And I don't think, obviously, this is not necessarily a bold claim just because it's what we all want to see, but I don't think you're going to see Nussmeier play that flat again. I don't know. There was a question earlier about maybe an injury or illness or whatever, but Nussmeier was off of his game on Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. And that's a casual take. I think anybody who watched the game knew that. Like you alluded to, 5 missed throws, off target, out of rhythm, out of sync. The tempo was slow. He just wasn't playing Garrett Nussmeier football like we saw last year, but specifically a week and a half ago, a week, whatever it was, at Clemson. We saw a completely different player on Saturday night in Baton Rouge. So I don't think you'll see that version of Garrett Nussmeier again. This is an elite quarterback, and I know that there were some people in the comments talking about if he's elite or not. Garrett Nussmeier is an elite quarterback in the SEC.
You still think so? Okay.
Garrett Nussmeier is an elite quarterback. This guy has arm talent off the charts. So I think Saturday, and I know it's an inferior opponent, but I think that's an outlier. And we were talking about anomalies earlier in the show. I think that's an anomaly. I think Nussmeier is an elite quarterback, and we're going to get to see a little bit more of that as the season goes on. And for me, I understand being prisoner of the moment and living in that kind of moment there, but you bounce back against Florida. You kind of have a gimme against Southeastern, and then things start to get serious against Ole Miss moving forward. So for me, I think Saturday was an outlier. And when we talk about a new team, kind of a whole new look moving forward to this weekend against Florida, I think it starts with Garrett Nussmeier, and I really think we're going to see a different look of him this weekend.
So I think Garrett Nussmeier played perfectly fine against Clemson. Yeah, I think that's arguably elite ball.
Everybody was throwing around game manager for him, and I think that game, I wouldn't say he was necessarily a game manager. He just played into what the play calling called for from Joe Sloan, where it kind of put him into that role. There were still some, when you go back and kind of grind that tape, some big-time throws that he made that are going to have NFL evaluators just salivating at the potential.
Including the one the refs didn't count, by the way.
Yeah, well, that one to Barry and Brown, oh, my Lord. I mean,
if that's called properly, where nobody's calling him a game manager, right?
I could never call Garrett Nussmeier a game manager, but man, you got the social media talking calling him that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, like maybe I'm wrong, but at this point, I don't think I am on that, man. I think Garrett Nussmeier is an elite quarterback. I think Saturday night was an outlier.
Yeah. There's never been
disagrees.
There's never been a quarterback in the history of college football outside of Joseph Lee Burrow to never have an off game. Okay. Jaden Daniels was incredible. Go look at Florida State. Go look at the first half against Arkansas. In fact, I remember saying it was like a curious case of Jekyll and Jaden, where he would just be, inhuman with how good he would be. And then he'd just have games where he's just anemic. Well, and again, that's 1.5 football games I just named of a 12-game stretch for Jaden Daniels. Okay. He won the Heisman Trophy and he was the best player in college football, and now he's dominating the NFL. My point is, elite players can have non-elite moments. In fact, almost every single one of them have had non-elite moments. And I think that's kind of what we saw out of Garrett Nussmeier this weekend. I think it was just a bad game on him. Now, this was probably worse than anything we saw out of Jaden Daniels his Heisman year, but I do think that he can rebound and be strong. All right, E-Dub with a good, insightful comment. LSU defense can carry us to a natty. Well, LSU got carried to national championships with two elite defenses that I can recall, 2003 and 2011. My thing is, I think in this era of football, you're going to have a game where your offense needs to go out and score 28 points, right?
Right.
I mean, in 2003, let's see here, 2003, they lost a Florida game where they didn't score but 7 points. They lost 17-19. But in 2003, they gave up 24 points to Arkansas. They had to score 55 in that game to actually win it. But, there's going to be a couple instances down the road, no matter how elite. That was in 2003 against 2003 offenses. Let's fast forward to 2011. Oregon scores 27 on you. And you needed to score, at least 28 to win that football game. Obviously, Bama in the championship, you needed to score 21 or more points to win the game, and you got a big fat 0. Arkansas scored 17 on you. Like there's going to be instances where even elite, that West Virginia hung 21 on you, albeit an elite West Virginia offense with Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, Noel Devine, all those guys, and on the road. Point being, at some point, this defense is going to give up 3 scores. You get what I'm saying? Like it's going to happen no matter how elite. There's never been a defense that never gave up, every defense has given up 14 points or more at some point. It's going to happen, and your offense is going to have to respond. And frankly, I don't know if the offense that showed up against LA Tech could put up more points against elite teams. I think that let's just hope that this is your mulligan. This is where you took your what would have been a loss if you played like that. You got it out of the way for LA Tech.
I think it's easy to play down to your opponents too, Preston. Like I think we've seen that at times with LSU. I mean, I see it with I'm a New Orleans guy, so I see it with the New Orleans Saints all the time. Back years on years, just those divisional games, et cetera, with that happening. We see that with LSU time and time again. I think it's easy to play down to your opponent. You're riding such a high coming off of that Clemson win. It's so easy to fall back down on kind of your face. And I think Brian Kelly was asked about that today, and I thought it was an awesome question. I need to go rewatch the press conference to see who asked it because I forgot. But somebody asked, is it kind of worry, not necessarily a worry, but you focus so much on Clemson in week 1, all off season. You're focusing on Clemson. That's your entire focus. You get over that hump. Well, is it hard to kind of stay focused on the tasks at hand, like Louisiana Tech, Southeastern, Florida, et cetera? So I think that was a really good question, because I think that might have been the reality of the situation in week 2 against Louisiana Tech, is you got over that hump and then you kind of got lost once you got over it. So I think you're going to see this team be more rejuvenated, get back on track this week. And it starts with Nussmeier and, of course, the defense, where you got to be elite against Florida. I mean, Lagway is one hell of a quarterback. So nonetheless, it's going to be your first true test in kind of SEC territory.
I'm excited to see what Lagway can do. I'd still believe in Lagway as a player, by the way. He's very talented. And also, I thought LSU's defense stood up against a mobile quarterback. He can move, man. He can
That's
scoot.
the kicker. Because I was about to sit back and say, this is your first true test against a mobile quarterback. But then you got to sit back and realize, man, Cade Klubnik is a pretty talented, dynamic.
And he can move too, by the way.
And you slowed him down there. So, yeah, truthfully, this is going to be a really fun one to watch.
Kukik is the test for DJ Lagway, and DJ Lagway is the test for Lenore Sellers.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is the final exam when it comes to stopping the mobile quarterback. And by the way, Ty Simpson, he can scoot around too. Okay. Whether or not I believe in him as a full quarterback is irrelevant. Dude can scoot. Yeah. He can move. So he's coming. We better watch out. You know what else is coming? Brunch at Capital City Grills, guys. Y'all should go check them out after every LSU win. Hopefully there are a lot more LSU wins to come this season. Guys, they're located on 100 Lafayette Street in downtown Baton Rouge. And of course, like all of our sponsors, we try to partner with locally owned businesses we know and trust to give you a great experience. Capital City Grill fits every bit of that. Guys, if you're looking for your ideal lunch and dinner stop for a casual dining experience, go check them out. They feature a variety of sandwiches, burgers, seafood, pasta, steaks, and more, with almost everything priced at $30 or below for an affordable experience. Don't forget to celebrate a win at their Sunday morning brunch, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and book your reservation online at capitalcitygrill.net. Make sure to let them know that TigerBait sent you in. And you know what? If you're not in the mood for the grill, guess what? They've got a good place right up the road, too. They've got Bay's Oyster Bar, guys. This is my favorite oyster stop. I love good, clean, raw oysters, and I love char-grilled oysters, but those are a little easier to pull off. The raw ones, you got to have good, clean, high-quality stuff that stays fresh. That's exactly what you're getting at Bay's Oyster Bar. They're now open in 315 North Boulevard in downtown Baton Rouge. They're serving up the freshest farm-raised oysters from Grand Isle. No mud, no grit, just clean, delicious flavor. Not into oysters? Swap in boiled shrimp or their turkey brie po' boy, or even a bacon sandwich for a classic ribeye po' boy. They've got it all, guys. They will be featuring a bar fully stocked with top-notch bourbon, whiskey, and craft beer. Don't miss out on Baton Rouge's newest oyster spot. And make sure to let them know TigerBait sent you in. And guys, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell y'all about the official electrical company of TigerBait.com. If you are enjoying this lit up studio, well, that's because they lit it up, guys. Dykes Electrical, guys, they're here prepared to take care of any of your electrical needs, big or small. They're wired for success. Need a brand new 10-story office building? They can wire that. 200 square foot warehouse need built? They can wire that. Expanding your existing commercial building? They can build that. They can wire that. Changing out a breaker or electrical panel or just a receptacle in your home or office? They can wire that. Upgrading old lighting in your home or office? They can definitely wire that. Give them a call today at the number on your screen, 225-216-9180 for a free estimate on your project. Make sure to let them know TigerBait sent you in. And guys, I got to tell y'all about my friends at Rejuvame. Whether you're in Tiger Stadium tackling Monday morning or whatever you're looking to do, okay, Rejuvame Medical will help you bring your A game. Testosterone and peptide therapies built for men who want more out of life. Visit RejuvameMedical.com. Go Rejuvame.
I've noticed that my mental clarity is better. I'm able to focus more. My energy levels are up, and I bounce back in the gym more like I'm in my 20s and 30s. I feel like myself again, stronger, sharper, and ready to take on anything.
Alrighty, let's get 10 minutes of tackling comments, guys. Let's see here. Nuss will carve up Florida this weekend, 300 plus and 3 tutties. Remember my words. Hey, look, go Tigers. You got the screenshot. We'll come back to you if you're right. I'm not hating on that take. I'm not hating on it at all. I could definitely see that coming down the pike. Had a bad game and some want to crap all over him. Look, And guys, I hope nobody thinks I'm trying to crap on the team tonight. I'm just trying to tell the truth as it pertains to LSU. And of course, if you want to know how this offense needs to get better, well, you got to look at what was wrong. And that's why with my film studies, I just focus on the problems. Any chance LSU flips the SCQB? They're talking about Landon Duckworth, who you saw in person. He was impressive physically, right?
Yeah, Landon Duckworth is 6'3", 195. I mean, this guy looks the part physically, and one that Joe Sloan and company are really, really turning up the heat for, and for good reason. It's a super talented quarterback. He was an Elite 11 finalist, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, top 10, whichever service you look at. So this is a player that they're turning up the heat for, and there's kind of a relationship here that could work in LSU's favor. The Ole Miss Rebels were really pushing for him prior to committing to South Carolina, and it was specifically one of their recruiting specialists in Kelvin Bolden. Well, now Kelvin Bolden has made his way to Baton Rouge and is on LSU staff as the assistant general manager working underneath Austin Thomas. So you're going to see Kelvin Bolden, Joe Sloan, et cetera, really turn up the heat on Landon Duckworth, who's going to be back in Columbia this weekend for their home game. So he's going to get FaceTime with that staff once again. I think it's going to be kind of a battle until the buzzer, but one that LSU is really turning up the heat for. So it's going to be exciting to watch that unfold. Obviously, you can't go back-to-back cycles without a quarterback. So you want to continue to really ramp up that push for Landon Duckworth. So that's the top guy on their board right now. It's going to be fun to see how it unfolds. But nonetheless, important to get him to campus, check out a game day experience. So we'll see how that kind of unfolds over the next couple of weeks into months.
I think Landon Duckworth was a guy who could solve a lot of your problems. I think at this point for your 2026 QB, you got to flip someone. All of the good quarterbacks in the country are committed somewhere. So you better prepare to cut an NIL check. You better prepare to cut an NIL check, and you better prepare to poach someone else who's on another team, because you cannot go 2 straight years of not signing a quarterback. You cannot go 0 in 2025 and people are giving you excuses. And of course, I think that Bryce Underwood being committed as long as he has definitely impacted your 26 recruiting, because nobody wanted to follow that act. Well, you got to do something now. So you're late to the party. So we'll see, man. It'll be tough, but I do suspect they're going to flip somebody's quarterback. I think they're a little too desperate. By the way, I'm not so certain that you don't take a guy like a Landon Duckworth, if he's willing to come, and go to the portal for a 1-year rent a player.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately you're going to have to go to the portal. I'm not sure if Michael Van Buren's going to be your go-to guy next year. But absolutely, Preston. I think once Nussmeier's gone, that quarterback room is extremely thin, especially from a talent perspective. You want to up the competition in that room to have a battle going into spring camp. So absolutely spot on. I agree with that.
Let's see here. Gary Williams. What happened to 1 week at a time? I don't know that I'm trying to jump too far ahead. I'm just telling you that, this week is a good test for sellers down the road. And look, hey, let's also point out, if we're looking down the road, it's not a problem. It's if your coach is looking down the road, because what me and Zack are sitting here talking about doesn't actually impact the performance of the team, or it shouldn't. Let's put it like this. If what we're saying impacts them, they're letting way too much noise in that building. Let's see here. He says he doesn't think Caleb Jackson has gotten touches this year. It's just, I think it's like 4. And they haven't been good touches.
Like a yard.
Bryce Kuhn, yes, your questions were answered, Bryce. Well, I don't know why your dog is more important than us. Let's see here. There it is. Here's the stat line. I nailed it. Look at that. I nailed it. 4 rushes, 0 yards this year. Sometimes I know what I talk about. Let's see here. Tradez, they'll be trying that Wildcat. Yeah, no Tradez with him out. They'll be trying that Wildcat. I guess it's good as anything else in the red zone. Yeah, look, here's the deal. I like Tradez Green as a red zone target, but you need to do other stuff to mix it up and keep him honest, right? And I think that the Juwan Johnson Wildcat formation is something I'm looking forward to seeing. Are you a little surprised they haven't whipped that out yet?
A little bit. But then again, a lot of the things that we saw during the 2024 fall camp, they didn't showcase during the season either. So nonetheless, a little bit, but not too much.
I think one of the problems this offense is having is a little bit of trying to feel out what their identity is. There's so many mouths to feed on this offense. I wonder if it's distracting. They're like, oh, Kyle Parker's good. We got to get him some target. Well, Barry and Brown's there. We got to get him some target. Well, what about Chris Hilton? And they're force feeding the ball to certain players instead of just going out there and saying, well, that works. Let's keep on doing that. And I think as this season goes on, they're going to start to find that identity in that rhythm. Trades Green is another one. Bauer Sharp is another one they're trying to feed. And I think that it's a little difficult to get into a rhythm and build that chemistry when there's just so many mouths that you're trying to force feed. Let's see here. Player X, the O-line will improve. Honestly, I'm glad we ran into some issues at the LA Tech game. It'll give them more focus moving forward. That's just what I was talking about just a bit ago. You hope that these struggle games are lessons that you can learn from against an opponent who's not going to come in here and beat you. I think if you play like this against a greater opponent, you probably are taking a loss this weekend, just realistically speaking. And I think it was a great time to learn these lessons, and hopefully they can improve upon. There's a lot of issues that in my film study I revealed that I think can be fixed. Do I think Nussmeier can start reading the field better? Yes. Do I think he can work on his inaccurate throws? Yes, he can trim those down to a minimum, keep those to 2 or 3 a game. Do I think that they can work on their blocking assignments and just stop whiffing on guys? Yes. There's other things, issues like you can't get a push on 1st and goal at the 3. Those are a little more concerning to me. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up here in just a bit. I want to thank y'all for watching tonight, but y'all make sure to subscribe to this channel. We continue to grow. We are cruising on to 40K. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter as well. We have the official TigerBait Twitter page that we just started this season. We're trying to grow that, so y'all make sure to go give that a follow. We're also live streaming on that Twitter page, albeit most of the views are probably coming from YouTube and Facebook, but we do the Twitter live stream as well. Y'all, if you want to watch the key highlight plays that I pointed out in my film study, y'all can go to my Twitter at pguy77, where I've posted a plethora of these plays, and I think people have been really enjoying. I think film studies, people want little nuggets. I don't think they want a long 2-hour video. If someone has feedback for me on that, by the way, if you'd rather sit for 2 hours or 3 hours like I did doing a film breakdown, let me know. But I think nuggets is the way to go with that, and then tally it up and tell you here what the results are. Guys, if you enjoyed the show tonight, hit like, please. Helps with our algorithm and all that jazz. I appreciate y'all joining in tonight. We will be back post-game next week. Now, next week, I'm going to be out of town during the week. I don't know when we're going to be doing a show yet, so y'all make sure to stay tuned. I'll probably have something to announce. I think me and Zack are working on getting our schedules aligned so I can do the show remotely, but we'll work that up, and if not, we'll do 2 shows the next week, and it'll be fine. Appreciate y'all for watching. Y'all have a great night. Go follow Zack's content at ZNagy20, all his good stuff over there at LSU Country. Thank y'all.